I have this one friend who recently turned 50. He goes out partying 5 days a week, he consumes a lot of alcohol, and he smokes cigarettes non-stop. Yet, he has younger looking skin than me and overall is kind of in better shape than me. And you wanna know the craziest thing? He only sleeps like 4 hours per night on average. It seems like he always has unlimited energy no matter what he does. Now, why am I even telling you this? Well, because that's not how I'm built. And I'm guessing it's probably not how you're built either. By nature, I'm actually kind of lazy. I'm not the type of person with unlimited energy who can pull off regular all-nighters fueled by energy drinks and fast food. I'm also not the person who can go partying all night and still be fresh for work the next day. But you know what? I actually kind of see my laziness as a strength. It allows me to make more calculated moves than my superhero friend. Because in order for me to work and focus well, my circumstances need to be pretty much perfect. And so, despite my perhaps weaker physical genes, I'm far more successful than my more energetic, older friend. And the reason for that is super simple. In order to continuously pursue and achieve my sky-high ambitions, I've been forced to experiment and optimize a lot over the years. I actually had to work to figure out how I could consistently achieve limitless focus and productivity. It's not some natural, God-given ability that I was born with. Now beware, some of the things that I'll mention in this video aren't exactly easy, but that's life. In the end, it really just comes down to how badly you want it. We can't all be rich. If everyone was on top, then there'd be no top. And while I definitely don't wish poverty on anyone, I do believe that those who are working harder, smarter, and thus creating greater impact deserve more wealth than those who are just doing the bare minimum. So again, you must ask yourself, how bad do you want it? If you want to excel in life, you'll need to work both harder and smarter than others. And so with that in mind, allow me to break down the exact things that I'm doing to achieve limitless focus and productivity. It comes down to exactly 5 aspects. The first one being dreaming. You must allow your brain to dream. What do I mean by that? Well, you may have heard of this before, but perhaps this way of thinking about it will give you a different perspective on it. Most of us have probably read that we should avoid looking at any screen for at least 1 to 2 hours before bed. I break this rule myself from time to time, and as soon as I do, I feel the consequences. The obvious one that we've probably all noticed is that, well, it's harder to fall asleep. But except for that, why is this no screen before bed rule so important? Well, one incredibly detrimental side effect of using screens before bed that I've experienced is that it actually stops me entirely from dreaming, which, when you think about it, is actually quite scary. If I watch a movie or lay in bed looking at my phone right before falling asleep, I'll always wake up in the morning not remembering a single dream from my sleep. And this is scarier than a lot of people realize. Why? Well, do you remember trying to fall asleep as a kid without a phone or TV in your bedroom, just lying and staring up at the ceiling, thinking about what happened during the day, thinking about what you'll do tomorrow, thinking about your life, things that are working well for you, but also things that might be troubling you? Well, those pre-sleep reflections are so incredibly important. Why? Well, because it's the only time your brain is able to process all the data that it's been downloading throughout the day. It's what allows it to let you have abstract dreams that in one way or another relate to your life and the challenges that you're going through. It's what allows you to imagine, to dream, literally. When we look at a screen, until we physically can't keep our eyes open anymore, we're robbing our brains of that incredible opportunity. We're essentially telling our brains that we don't want it to help us imagine a better and more exciting life. You know that little stroke of genius that you sometimes randomly get out of nowhere? Well, that's what happens when your brain has the time to properly process things. But when we eliminate that beautiful process, well, we suppress our brain's power to help us navigate a successful path through life. We kill its ability to think creatively. Instead of reflecting on my challenges and dreaming up creative solutions, I'll wake up just as clueless about my problems as I was the day before. And so not only does it ruin my dreams, but it also just leaves me feeling drowsy in the morning. I'll wake up and feel tempted to just start looking at my phone immediately because I've lost all excitement for life. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the perfect recipe for a long and slowly induced depression. Now, with that out of the way, we can move on to aspect 2, which is the ability to achieve laser focus, okay? There are 2 aspects to cover here. First, we need to cover, well, the steps that lead to achieving laser focus. And then we need to understand that we perform better at different types of work at different stages of our day. Now, if you're working a 9-to-5 or a regular job where you have to do certain tasks at specific times of the day, then this aspect is harder to adjust or optimize. But if you're like me and you have the freedom to structure your own day, well, then you'll benefit immensely from optimizing your timing or what work you do at what time. So let's break down the different types of work. First, we have deep work, arguably the most important type of work that any person can do. It's no surprise that deep work requires the most intense focus to perform. Personally, I find that I have the most focus for deep work between 8 in the morning and 2 in the afternoon. And so therefore, I strive to stay clear of any big meetings or other interruptions that may distract me from my deep work during these first 6 hours or so of the day. However, I've spoken to multiple entrepreneurs who say they're better at achieving that deep work focus late in the evening or even during the nighttime. And so this is a personal thing that you have to figure out for yourself. Now, moving on from deep work, we have general work and management, such as going over project work, leaving small comments or feedback for your team members. This kind of work is not very focus intensive and could easily be done on your laptop in a hotel lobby or in a cafe, yet it still requires proactivity from your side. And so essentially, even though this isn't your most difficult work, it's kind of the work that's the easiest to procrastinate. Because once I'm done with my deep work, well, my mind can often feel very fatigued, and so therefore I dread even just starting easy general management work. But once again, it's all about getting started. And so what I'll usually do is I'll get a quick overview of all the general tasks and management that I need to complete. Then I'll grab my laptop, go for a quick walk and get some fresh air. And then I'll sit down in a nice cafe or similar place where I can work on my things while having some late lunch, coffee, or even a cup of tea for all I know. Essentially, switching work environment when switching work type often allows me to stay efficient and focused on my general work for another 1 to 3 hours. Now, finally, for the third work type, we have meetings. For some people, meetings will take up a lot of their day, and for others, far less, if any of their day. Now, while some meetings may require intense focus, it's still very different from deep work because being in a meeting doesn't require the same amount of self-motivated proactivity. When you're in a meeting, there's no option for procrastination unless you want everybody to sit in silence. And so for that reason, I try to do most of my meetings in the evening, usually between 5 and 8 p.m. But again, if you're the type of person that has better deep work focus in the evening or in the nighttime, well, then you'd likely benefit from doing all of your meetings earlier in the day so that you've gotten them out of the way. All right, so we've covered aspect 1, which was streaming, and now we've just covered aspect 2, which was laser work focus. And part of that, as you know, was timing your work correctly. Now, timing is also very relevant for aspect number 3, which is diet, because good focus is very much dependent on consuming the right foods at the right time. Now, while I'm no nutritionist or bodybuilder, I've done my fair share of experimentation with optimizing my diet for focus specifically over the years. And so gradually, I found a strategy that allows me to achieve that day-long laser focus without interruptions or any crashes. And so contrary to popular culture, I only eat 2 big meals a day, not 3. And no, I don't do the widely popular intermittent fasting strategy where you usually skip breakfast. Instead, I eat breakfast and I eat dinner, but no lunch. But I balance it out by adding consistent fuel to my body throughout the day. I think we've all experienced that crash feeling that we can have right after a big meal. The feeling of just wanting to take a big nap right after lunch. It's normal, especially if you consume a lot of carbs at lunchtime, such as a big pasta. Personally, I actually find it almost impossible to recover from that carb crash if I have a pasta for lunch, and so it's something I'll only very rarely do on the weekends. If I eat a pasta or any other carb heavy dish for lunch, chances are I'm not going to get any more work done for the rest of that day. And so here's what I do instead. For breakfast, I'll eat incredibly protein heavy with a tiny bit of carbs for that quick start fuel. We're talking 4 to 5 scrambled eggs with 1 piece of toasted sourdough bread. Sometimes if I'm feeling extra hungry in the morning, I'll even add a bit of leftover steak to my breakfast, okay? To make sure hydration is in order, I'll then consume half a liter of water with a mix of electrolytes, magnesium, zinc, and a bit of creatine. And no, I don't consume some hyped canned drink that I'll crank open in the morning. I simply go to the pharmacy and get the tried and true basics that I know work. The most important thing is just getting those essential minerals and magnesium in the morning. I've been doing this for around 4 years now, and in my experience, it makes you feel far more comfortable, balanced, and focused throughout the day. Finally, I'll have a good espresso to give me that boost that I need to start the day. Now I know this breakfast is not exactly for the light-hearted, but trust me, it works wonders. Now, because the breakfast is quite heavy and protein-based, it may take a little while for that consistent fuel, being the proteins, to kick into gear. And so while the caffeine is starting to work its magic, you need a few easy physical tasks to take care of immediately, because as mentioned earlier, it's all about creating momentum at the beginning of the day and not allowing yourself to stop. For me, this simply consists of going for a 15 to 30 minute walk with a podcast or an audiobook right after the breakfast. And then by the time I'm home, the food crash is over, the caffeine is working its magic, and so I'll grab a quick shower and then I'm fresh and ready to start my day. And so at that point, I'll usually crank out 3 to 4 straight hours of deep work focus without eating or consuming anything. But that's not enough. These days I'm working at least 6 to 8 focused hours per day, and so around noon, or what will be lunchtime for most people after these first 4 hours of work, I'll start gradually adding more fuel to my system. The key is not having any big meals, because that's what will give me that, well, post-meal drowsiness. And so instead, I found that by consistently eating carrots, bananas, and dark chocolate throughout the entire day, I can maintain that laser focus for another 6+ hours without breaks. Now, the final point here about diet is really what to avoid, right? Because the most important thing is the quality of your food. Look, I used to be completely addicted to eating candy as a child, and I didn't really have any limits, so I could just eat as much candy as I wanted. But today, I never consume any processed foods or candy for that matter, okay? No candy, no chips, no packaged or processed factory foods. Only whole foods. My diet is purely high quality meat, eggs, vegetables, fruits, and a tiny bit of bread, okay? And then, sure, the occasional pasta dish, right, on the weekend if I'm feeling lavish. That being said, when I was broke in the first year of building my business, my diet consisted pretty much entirely of oatmeal, carrots, bananas, and the occasional frozen microwavable Thai cube, for those of you who know what that is. It was probably not the healthiest, but oh well. The point is to say that success on a budget diet is definitely possible, but you should upgrade your diet as soon as you can afford it. No matter what you do, please, 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 for the sake of your own good and for the sake of your future success, avoid processed snacks and foods by all means necessary. It's like putting poison in your body, or like pouring soy milk into the fuel tank of a car. And if you're on a budget, you have even less of an excuse to consume these horrible foods, okay? They're killing you from the inside. I hate when people say, oh, I can't afford to eat clean. Yes, you can. Just eat oat milk, bananas and carrots, and a little bit of meat, right? It doesn't have to be expensive to eat clean. For all I know, it's not cheap to eat processed foods. It's such a bad expense that you're on a budget, right? All right, so now we've covered aspect number 3 as well, which was diet. Okay, and so that leads us on to aspect number 4, and that's movement. Now, stay with me here. I know this is going to be a tough one to swallow, but cardiovascular exercise, or cardio exercise, is such an overlooked aspect in terms of cognitive performance. The right amount of cardio is absolutely key to not burning out, especially when it comes to working non-stop for many months at a time. When I stop doing cardio, I slowly lose my focus and ability to wake up fresh. As a matter of fact, without consistent cardio, I actually feel decreased excitement for life in general. As soon as I go for a run though, and I push my body a bit, I can't help myself but to smile, because it just brings back that excitement and that fuel to pursue life and to pursue my vision. Cardio just, it wakes you up, right? And lack of it, well, it kills you, quite literally. Furthermore, if I ever feel stuck trying to come up with a solution to a problem in my business or in my life, I'll just go for a short run. Not to run away from my problems, but rather to face them and to find a solution. When I get my pulse up from running while focusing on a specific issue or problem, I often experience unmatched clarity. Suddenly the solution to my deep problems just appears right in front of me. And so how do we implement this in our daily life? Well, first of all, even though this isn't exactly cardio, just start every day by doing 20 to 50 push-ups as soon as your alarm rings in the morning, okay? The best way to get out of bed and eliminate the temptation of getting back in is just to get your heart rate up a little bit. right? Then, as mentioned earlier, go for a 15 to 30 minute walk right after your breakfast. And finally, make sure you get an intense cardio session at least 3 to 4 times a week. Even if it's just a 3 to 5 kilometer run every other day, it's really not that much. Depending on your running speed, it could take 30 minutes or less, and honestly, that's enough. Countless studies have shown that as little as 20 minutes of daily cardio is enough to dramatically decrease your chances of any cardiovascular diseases. It's kind of self-explanatory. And of course, you can mix or substitute it with other cardio exercises that you enjoy. It doesn't have to be just running, right? Personally, I enjoy playing tennis, which when played at a high level is very intense cardio. The point is, stop worrying about whether or not you're eating too much butter, as long as you're just making sure to get enough cardio exercise. Okay, that's all you need to worry about. And so now you might be thinking, okay, but what about muscle training? Look, I fully respect and understand anybody who goes to the gym to grow their muscles for both physical and aesthetic purposes. Just keep in mind that only doing muscle training without any intense cardio exercise and consistently increased heart rate, well, that's not going to be helping your focus, okay? I would never tell you to stop your strength training. I think it's great if you do it. Just don't think that it's a substitute to cardio. Don't make the mistake of only lifting weights 4 to 5 times a week and thinking that this alone will make you healthy. You're not necessarily in shape or healthy just because you're lifting weights. Cardio is what improves your heart, right? And what actually allows you to focus and be healthy. All right, so now we've covered aspect number 4 as well. And so this leads us to the 5th, final and super short aspect, which is what not to do. Okay, in the end, it's your life and you decide what to do and what not to do. But one thing is for sure, your lifestyle impacts your productivity, your output, and ultimately your success. Consistent focus just doesn't come without sacrifice. But one thing's for sure, if you want to party every week and eat unhealthy foods and slowly kill your brain with overstimulation, well then you're robbing not just yourself, but also your family and everybody else of the valuable creations and ideas that your brain could have produced to create a better future for humanity. Okay, remember this. But sure, the road to reaching your full potential is long and full of obstacles, and that's part of the game, right? Take pride in that, enjoy the process. Put a smile on your face whenever you're faced with challenges and obstacles. So I urge you to take note and take action on the things that I've mentioned in this video, and then add onto them the experiences that you encounter on your own journey. It's gonna be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.